Hey everybody, it's Mike from Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson Zia. Also brought to you by the Illumnifical, the think tank of the future, the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, now on Amazon. Also, Hayitan Music. Check out our latest at hayitanmusic.com. We're here with terrific gentleman who is a Denver-based poet, author, musician, spoken word artist, and a campaign for role-playing games. We'll talk about that. He's released two albums in '05 and '08 under a very significant name. He also wrote a book about a trail of discovery, sharing vulnerable insights on how life basically goes. Just Karen's, curious by courage, curiosity, and the unknown with themes being the course of life. And we'll talk about the album Butterfly with Bazookas. And what's that about? Live, ladies and gentlemen, plus twos in beautiful downtown Denver, the Denver-based poet, author, musician, spoken word artist, and campaigner for the role-playing games. A new album's called Butterfly with Bazookas. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Daniel Hayes. Daniel, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What's great to have you on board, Daniel. So you're a Denver-based poet, author, musician, spoken word artist, and you also do campaigns for role-playing games. You released two albums in '05 and '06 under significant effects, I should say. You
Yeah.
wrote a book a lot about Trail of Discovery, sharing valuable insights into how life caren's curated by courage, curiosity, and evolve into the unknown with themes over the course of your life. And the book is called Karen's, available on Amazon. We're here to talk about Butterflies and Bazookas, featuring ecstasy, redemption, wake up, and more. And before getting all that, Daniel, tell us how you first got started.
I think probably, I mean, I grew up, actually grew up in Southern California.
Okay.
Uh, and, my mom was always very musical. She sang in the local church choir. And I think just, from a very young age, I was taking piano lessons and violin. In junior high, I did clarinet. And then
Oh, wow.
in high school, I was in the marching band, with clarinet. And so I think I was really kind of already kind of headed that direction. And in 2006, I finally sort of decided, like, I want to start, making my own music. And at the time, I was definitely more into electronic music, using loops and not so much the
Like, like,
organics.
like the EDM or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, EDM, absolutely. And so those first two albums were definitely more kind of EDM. There were a couple tracks where I played guitar, I sang and everything on there, but very, very just sort of very kind of experimental, more kind of fun, not really going after anything with any particular meaning back then. And then about 2, 3 years ago now, I started working with a writing coach, and she really, really helped me kind of, begin to sort of be able to write poetry and just, I mean, she was sort of part therapist, part writing coach, and definitely a non-traditional writing coach. So I probably the first 3 to 6 months of my work with her, we actually just went over things, such as, dealing with the death of my mother,
hmm.
um, and things like that, and really sort of getting me sort of back in touch with sort of my inner child, if I
Hmm.
could use a cliche phrase. Um, and once I started writing poetry, um, I kind of also thought, you know what? I've also always wanted to write a book. It was really from a very young age. I always loved to read. I spent summers reading books, seventh, eighth, ninth grade.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I definitely in high school, that was still a point where I really wanted to be a writer as a career. But somewhere along the way, I don't know, somebody must have told me this, or I must have just assumed it myself. I thought, well, no, I can't be a writer. I have to do, a more traditional job. And so I kind of abandoned the writing. And then after working with my writing coach, all of it sort of came back to me. And I actually started writing the book first. And what was happening is I would, spend the, whatever, 2 or 3 hours writing. And then as a break, I would sort of write poetry. And so it was kind of my fun freeform thing that I would do as a break to writing the book. And, I would say about halfway through writing my book, I thought, wow, I could do like a spoken word album. Um, and then, I talked to a really good friend of mine who I'd known since 2006, who was also a musician and
Mm.
a music producer. His name's Bao. And I talked to him, and he agreed to help produce. And he was a just, I mean, like without him, this spoken word album could not have been made, because he definitely kept me on task. We had weekly Zoom meetings. He helped me, sort of shape the words, like, because poetry doesn't always translate to a song, or it doesn't always, like, written poetry that you would read doesn't always sound as good if it's spoken out loud. So he really worked with me on that. And then as far as the music was concerned, we definitely collaborated on the music as well. I would say it's probably 50-50. Like, I would write something and then he would kind of write something, or vice versa. And what, so by the and what was such a coincidence was, while I was working on the album, I was doing the all the different edits of my book. And so it turned out I was pretty much done with both the book and the album right around the same time. And I'm just really proud of, both the book and the album, because they definitely complement each other.
Oh, so you kind of worked on them at the same time, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say by the time I started working on the music album, the book, I was done with the first rough draft, and so I was just doing, like the different edits, that inevitably, when you write a book, it's never done, after the rough draft. And so really, but yeah, like for the album, I was sort of I was editing more than creating on the book. And then with the album, I was creating and honing and sharpening everything.
Mhm. Now you had the album Butterfly of Bazookas. Does that coincide with the Karen's book?
It does, really. So two of the tracks on Butterfly with Bazookas are kind of like, so Ecstasy and Redemption. Those two tracks are actually more of a sort of like a conversation with me.
Hmm.
And they expand on some of the themes that I had in my book.
Okay.
So it's kind of like those two. And really, I would say the other tracks on the album don't necessarily tie in with the book specifically, other than I do talk about in my book my work with my writing coach, and I also talk about working with Bao, on the album. So in that sense, they tie in, but really it's just those two tracks that are sort of expansions on, some of the themes in the book.
And you say that was Ecstasy and Redemption?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just got to make note on that too. And you got a really interesting collaboration. You have Karen's on Amazon, Butterfly Bazookas. And how did that all come together? We'll talk more about with the multi-talent Downey Hayes. But first, you listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, one target, where truth is illusion and those who love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson Z has got great reviews. An Evil Evidence George by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forge Riley, and Eminem. So grab your copy today. Virgo's Missing by Mia Molson Z, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2 on Amazon by Mia Molson Z. Double the fun, double the suspense, and double the joyride. Coming soon to Amazon.com. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Illumniptical, the think tank of the future, bringing scientists and engineers together from all over the world, creating a method to construct a renewable generator. This unique product operates on a closed loop system, generating more energy and naturally or internally that needs to function. The extra electricity can be used to run everything from homes, power grids, phones, and laptops. This power source is renewable, highly scalable, and more importantly, self-regenerating. For more information, visit facebook.com/Illumniptical. That's ELLUMENIPTICAL today. Also, Mike Wagner shows brought to you by Serena, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 paintings and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote in his time as a shepherd world started and complicated yet turbulent relationship with King Saul. Is a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. Check out The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also brought to you by Hi-Tan Music, featuring the smash hit Baby Comeback. New music coming soon. Check it out. Listen for details at hightanmusic.com. Also, take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Check out the MikeWagnerShow.com, 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags. Makes great gifts 24/7. Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. If you're interested in purchasing these products, send me an email to the Mike Wagner Show at gmail.com. And also check out the merchandise and great books by Mia Molson Zia, Amazon.com/Mia Molson Zia, and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. You hear the amazing Denver-based poet, author, musician, spoken word artist, and campaigns, role-playing games, Daniel Hayes here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we go back and forth, the Butterflies and Bazookas and the book Karen's on Amazon, you campaign for role-playing games. That is a really interesting one.
Yeah, and well, it's something that it was definitely something that I started as a result of kind of working with my writing coach. Because because writing or leading campaigns for role-playing games is very similar to writing short stories, right?
Oh, okay. So it's just like you're basically just writing short stories to inspire games, like you play, was it virtual or like well, Minecraft, or was it Fortnite, anything like that, or
No. So yeah, what I do is I lead groups like locally in Denver,
okay.
and people come over to my house and I will write, in a campaign. A campaign usually just implies that it happens over multiple sessions. I have done sort of just like one shots, stories, things like that. But it's really that I'm actually writing the adventure, and then they come over to my house, and then I lead them through the adventure. And there's dice rolling, and everybody will sort of play characters and everything like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a very, for me, it's a very fun exercise to keep me writing, to writing these adventures. And then I love, obviously, bringing joy to all the people that come over and have fun. So yeah, it's a great hobby.
Oh my gosh, it does sound amazing. And of course, you've had some favorite writers and favorite books. And who are some of your favorite writers and some of your favorite books growing up?
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Oh geez, there's so
You
many.
don't have to do a laundry list. Well, if you want to,
Right.
you go
Okay.
ahead. So,
Okay. So I think right now, I mean, or, since I was little, I mean, obviously Stephen King. I mean, he's, the maestro. Love all of his stuff. I also like a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. I mean, Isaac Asimov,
mhm.
uh, Margaret Weiss. She was part of a duo that wrote the Dragonlance series, and I love her stuff with that, and also her solo stuff. Yeah, like I mean, I those are probably just the top of my head. My favorites, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And it also ties into your book as well, too, Karen's. And it's a trail of discovery, sharing vulnerable insights and how life just Karen's as well, too. Maybe a bit more about it, and maybe just share a few examples, and maybe just a few experts. And how's it get to be a life of Karen's? Up, down, it just Karen's and everything.
Yeah, so I mean, I picked the name Cairns because I came out to Colorado in 1994 to go to CU Boulder for college, and I immediately, because growing up in Southern California, there are mountains and there is out camping and outdoorsy stuff, but I never really did it because I grew up in Orange County, so I was mostly just going to the beach and things like that. But when I came out to Colorado for college, I started backpacking and camping, and I one of the first kind of interesting things that I started encountering on my backpacking and hiking trips are these cairns, little piles of rocks, and kind of the idea behind them. They sort of let you know that even if you were seemingly in the middle of the wilderness, if you saw a little rock pile, that was a sign that I'm on the right track. Like I'm
Oh,
going the
nice. Okay. Now, was it done by other people? Helped by other people? Were they there for a long time before you had these trails blazed and everything?
Well, yeah, I mean, the cairns have been something like people have been making those for thousands of years. I mean, there's cairns like in Scotland, in Ireland. The Native Americans would use variations of cairns. The cairns that I think I encountered on my hiking trips, I'm not sure that they were necessarily ancient, but I mean, I definitely feel like they were put there by hikers like myself who maybe they decided to go off trail and they weren't really sure, is this safe? Is this the right way to go? And they would make the rock pile for anyone else that decided to maybe go off the beaten
Oh,
path.
okay. So that's just helping another person out, like a guide and everything like that.
Yeah. And I
Wow. Okay.
and my book is sort of it in a general way, it's about sort of the last 5 or 6 years of my life. Because it was that was sort of a part of my life where I did a lot of major changes in my life. And I kind of decided to name it cairns because they're kind of like milestones, signposts, kind of along the way. And so I sort of this concept of having a cairn moment, such as, starting to work with my writing coach, or in the book, you'll find this out. I started to get healthy, and I started to work out in a gym, and I started boxing, and I started doing jujitsu, and sort of like so one of the cairn moments from my book is when I decided to start boxing. And I was 43, 44, and it's
Oh,
like
wow. Never too old to start boxing. You could beat Mike
right?
Tyson. I'm kidding.
Right. And and I felt and I honestly, like, that was kind of one of the questions. Like, I originally was just sort of doing it for fun and just kind of learning and doing mitts, but my coach said, you should compete, because there's a whole league of for amateurs over 35. I said, really, my age, and but really, like, so the Karen moment for me was like getting into the ring, getting into that ring at my age, and just learning, getting so much self-confidence, getting over that fear of, getting hit, getting knocked out. Um, and so really my book it's about that journey of these different moments where I grew, in a huge way, and I got all sorts of self-confidence and just, so I think that's really sort of what I would hope, if somebody is thinking, hey, I'm in my 40s, life is over. Life is not over at 40. Like I pretty much, I was going on one path and I immediately branched off into this whole new journey that led me to making a spoken word album, doing jujitsu, getting third place in a jujitsu tournament. I mean,
Nice.
at the jujitsu tournament, like, what I'm most proud of, the third place is great, but what I'm most proud of is that my two matches were, one was with a 34-year-old guy and a 32-year-old guy.
Ah,
So for me, that I felt a real sense of accomplishment beating someone that was, almost 20 years younger than me. Um, and it just, and again, like, just moments like that throughout the book, that's really, kind of what it's about. And then also, another kind of significant moment that I talk about in one of my chapters is I went to a Joe Dispenza advanced retreat. And I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza, but
We like to hear more about it.
okay, yeah. So Joe Dispenza, I mean, he's been around since the late 80s. And his just briefly, his story is he was a chiropractor in Southern California, and he got into an accident. He was hit by a car
Ooh,
on a bicycle. And he went to at the doctor said, "Oh, you'll never walk again. Your spine will, your spine is done." And he, instead of sort of just accepting that, he got all into like Eastern religion and chakra work and all these different things. And he essentially, with his mind, refused his spine and when he was able to walk again. And
wow.
so he basically, after this sort of literally miraculous event, he started, he kind of he started sort of he now has this technique, this process of part of it is meditation, part of it is sort of, visualization, of you can heal yourself, or you can make your life better in other ways. And I won't get into too much of the details of it, but I went to this retreat, and it was this six-day retreat where we everybody there, was about 1,900 people there. We all meditated for about 6 hours a day in
Wow.
oh yeah, in like 2 hour blocks. And of course, at the beginning of it, most of us were, we try to, the idea is to think about nothing, right? And that's when you try to think about nothing, it's like everything's just starts popping into your head. And, right? Try, thinking about nothing for 5 minutes. It's really hard. But gradually, he kind of helped us with breath work and different things. But the beginning of it, it was sort of this thing where we were kind of in and out, like, think about nothing, think about nothing. But by the end of it, um, I I was changed. Like it changed my life because it gave me this sense of calm and peace. Um, I stopped snoring. My girlfriend told me, "Wow, this is crazy. You got back from this retreat, and all of a sudden you're not snoring." And and so I kind of talk about it in my book because for me, it's like it's something that I do every day. I'll meditate. I'll maybe half an hour, or something like that. And it's great to center yourself. To if I'm stressed out, and so again, another Karen moment, was this going to this retreat and sort of really kind of changing the trajectory of how I lived my life.
And you're certainly living a life as well, too, of being a spoken artist, a musician, and everything else, especially with Butterfly Bazookas, being a spoken word artist, which is amazing. We'll talk about it in just 1 minute with Daniel Hayes. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author, me and Molson Zia Missing, art by Illumnitical, the think tank of the future. The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, now on Amazon and High Time Music. Check out our latest at hightimemusic.com. We'll be back with the multi-talented Denver-based poet, author, musician, spoken word artist Daniel Hayes after this time. We're back to the multi-talented Denver-based Daniel Hayes here on the Mike Wagner Show. We covered some of the book Karen's on Amazon, and jumping from that to Butterfly with a Bazooka, being a spoken word artist, musician, and everything else. I mean, you've got some really good work right there, and tell us more about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely I feel like this sort of second time around, right? Like the first time around, it was just I think it was a little just more for fun. I was just kind of playing around. But this second time around, I really have found a lot more meaning, and I feel like I now have something important to say.
Hmm.
And that really comes out, in my album. For instance, the redemption piece song is that's all about how when I was younger, I grew up in a Christian home, and when I was younger, I everyone around me would say, oh, if you're upset, if things aren't going great, you should pray, right? And this whole concept of prayer, and I never really was able to calm my mind, like kind of generally the purpose of prayer. And so this piece redemption is really about kind of that dispenser retreat, getting me to the point where when I meditate, I'm getting that sense of calm that my family, and everybody around me growing up was always sort of trying to help me, get through adolescence and my teenage years, which of course are always crazy and, you know,
Oh, yeah. I
wild.
mean, who doesn't, you know?
Right, and then also in this piece I also kind of touch on this idea of, like, now that both my mom and my dad have passed, they passed in the last 4 years. I actually, for the first time, feel actually very close to them with this meditation, the meditating that I'm doing, because they were always, they were their way of sort of calming and de-stressing was prayer. And for me, it's meditation. But now, for the first time, I kind of understand, what they were talking about.
Hmm.
And then there's another track on there called Wake Up. And that one it's little, I'm not, it's not really on the nose, but it's about me sort of coming to terms with my father's, passing, and just the acceptance of mortality and the acceptance that everybody dies, and you got to just make the most of the time that we have. Um, and there's a lot of other ones, but those I think are the two ones that I think I'm most proud of. And those are also the ones that I feel that I think they will resonate with a lot of people. And those are the ones that I would hope, that people could listen to them and go, oh, okay, that's, I resonate with that. And it helps them through whatever they're going through, at the time. And I feel like that's really one of my main goals with, the spoken word poetry. Um, but I think beyond that, though, I'm also currently in the process of, like, I had a bassist, but then he moved to Florida because his he wanted to be near his parents. Um, but I'm in the process of getting a drummer and a bassist together, and I want to play out. I want to do some small clubs in Denver, and because it's something that I feel it's fun, it's a good message, and I think it would just be a fun thing to do. The spoken word stuff is sort of twofold. Um, and I have done a couple open mic poetry nights in Denver, and those are also a total blast. I highly recommend anybody it's even remotely interested in poetry to at least go to an open mic poetry night in your community, in your city, because there's so much fun, and I love the amateur poetry. It's so raw, and it's so interesting. So yeah.
It does sound interesting. Of course, we'll cover some of the other tracks like The Witch, Eat Fast, Bullet Train, Cold Paradise. Tell us more about those.
Yeah, so Eat Fast, I think that one is another one that I'm proud of. It's definitely there's definitely a tongue-in-cheek aspect to this one, because it was based on a poem that I wrote where I was eating I was eating some fast food, and as everybody knows, fast food is bad for you, and you should eat organic and all that, especially as we get older. And I thought to myself, you know, wouldn't it be funny to write a poem from the perspective of somebody that just thinks that fast food is the greatest, and so the opening um line is eat fast, die young. And, and the whole poem is it's definitely meant to be funny, but the whole poem is really just about this idea of excess and not caring, and really just, I'm just going to eat fast food and drink Dr. Pepper and jelly donuts and all, and
Oh,
all
you're
that
making me
stuff.
hungry
I
already.
know, sorry. Right? Um, and it's just a really fun kind of piece that really, honestly, again, it's a joke, but it glamorizes, this gluttony and access, in excess. So and I really had a lot of fun with that one.
Hmm.
Um, I would say, the witch, that one is definitely more of a adult themed, poem. Obviously, that there's I don't use any bad words,
Right,
on
that's
the album.
understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's about meeting a lover, in Egypt, under the moon, and kind of just it's me sort of like just showing another side of myself and just kind of having fun playing with that with idea. It's erotic, again, tasteful but erotic. And again, had a lot of fun with that one. And then, geez, I'm trying to think. The other one that I really enjoyed was Time Traveler. I definitely
Oh,
want just briefly, I want to talk about that one because that one, that concept is about, and again, I think this is something that, there's a lot of people out there, that point right before you fall asleep. And your mind is just sort of having all sorts of kind of weird thoughts, and you're not quite awake, but you're not quite asleep. And so that poem is about I wrote it about, all these images I have of that kind of come in weird, and like some of it is childhood memories, some of it is current experiences. And I talk about, I mean, anything from, the Lethal Weapon series,
I
which
remember that Mel Gibson. Yes.
right? Like I reference stuff like that, or toys that I played with. And that's another one that I'm really proud of. And it's a lot of fun. It's a very kind of nostalgic journey. For anybody that like I grew up in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. Anybody that grew up in that period of time, I think will really enjoy that piece because it really references a lot of stuff
It
from that.
sounds like it. And you got some great works. And where can we find your release Butterflies, Bazookas, cans? Where can we find all your works, Daniel?
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, I use CD Baby to do the sort of the distribution, and so it'll be on Spotify, it'll be on iTunes, all the different streaming services. So yeah, you'll be able to find it there. Obviously, I wouldn't, it'd be great if you could buy it, but I'm sure, if you've got a subscription to Spotify, it'll be on there. And yeah, you can get it all those different places.
And how about the book, Karens?
The book is available on Amazon. It's also available through bookbaby.com. That's the people I used to publish it. And again, like if you don't want to spend the money to get the hardcover, there's a Kindle version that's just a couple bucks. Or I think if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, I think it's free there, so you can get it, either way. I If there's enough interest, I am kind of thinking about doing an Audible version of it,
Oh,
but
that'd be nice.
we'll see, because I know a lot of people like to listen to books in their car and different things like that. So
Oh, that'd be so great as well, too. And we're here with the multi-talented Daniel Hayes, Butterfly Bazookas, and Karen's here on the Mike Wagner Show. And just a couple of things. What else can we expect in 2024 and 2025 and beyond?
yeah, so I think right now the main thing I'm focusing on is getting the band together. And once I've found a bassist and a drummer, I'm definitely going to be, trying to do some clubs in Denver and possibly Los Angeles, because I do have friends in Los Angeles, and Bao, of course, he lives in Los Angeles, so I might be able to have some connections there to do some performances there. But yeah, that's my goal. I hope to have, because I already have all the everything written and everything. I just need to kind of turn it into a live show. I think that, and then really, and the other thing that I'm continuing to do and just having a lot of fun with is these campaigns, these role-playing game campaigns that I'm hosting, at my house. So yeah, those are really the two main things. Definitely, probably sometime in 2025, I am gonna I've already started kind of doing some ideas for a graphic novel,
Oh,
um,
nice.
because in my book, every chapter has a manga, manga like a anime. Have you
Right.
heard?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Uh-huh.
Okay, so every chapter in my book has a manga panel. It's like this really cool little cartoon that sort of, is a graphical representation of the chapter. And I had so much fun. Bao, made those as well. He's a graphic designer as well. And I had so much fun with that. I was like, oh no, this is something that I want to do. Because obviously a book is such a, it just, it takes a long time and it's a whole thing. But whereas if I just do a graphic novel or just a comic book, I can just get a quick story in there, some fun pictures. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about, perhaps maybe summer of 2025.
Oh, that'd be so nice. And we're looking forward to as well, Daniel. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Wow. Okay. I think for book, I would say someone I didn't mention at the beginning, but Piers Anthony. He's a science fiction fantasy writer who he always injects humor
Hmm.
into into his he did the Xanth series. He always puts humor into his books. Like he was a huge, like I read his biography and I read just, I mean, he's read literally hundreds of books. I would say Piers Anthony is probably my biggest influence. As far as musically, that's a tough one because I mean, with the spoken word stuff, I definitely am a big fan of people like Alan Watts, big fan of William S. Burroughs, guys like that who didn't necessarily have bands behind them, but I
Hmm.
really, I really like their work. So I feel like that those are probably my biggest influences as far as my poetry and my musicality.
Oh, that's amazing as well. You got some great stuff. And what most importantly, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Oh man, I would say, well, I know this is awfully specific, but I feel like I always give myself the 3 month rule, which is, if anytime you start something new, whether it's writing a song, writing a book, learning how to box, learning how to do jujitsu, learning a new job, give yourself 3 months before you decide whether or not it's something that you want to do, whether you're capable of it, because there's something about the human experience. And I mean, at least this is what I found in my experience, is that if I commit and I stick with something for 3 months, and even if like it's like with the gym, all this stuff, even if I don't feel like doing it, I stick with it for 3 months, and after 3 months, it's almost like there's a muscle memory to it. There's a mental sort of memory. You're making new pathways in your brain. That would be my best advice. Don't quit after a month, you know, and also, I know this is cliche, but really follow your dreams. Do what you love. It's cliche, but it's a cliche for a
Mhm.
reason.
And that's very true as well, too. I mean, cliche, you're right, but it does make its point. It really does. You're the
Yeah.
multi-talented Daniel Hayes of Butterfly of Bazookas and author of Karen's here on the Mike Wagner Show. Daniel, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to
Yeah.
date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your goods?
Okay, yeah. So for the book, it's going to be probably the best, easiest place for most people is going to be Amazon. And I think for my musical work, I think the best thing is going to be, like the Spotify or the iTunes and all that. I don't have a website. And right now I'm still working on my social media. So I think the best thing is just stick with like the Amazon and the iTunes and all that stuff for now.
All right, we'll certainly do that as well. Once again, Daniel, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We love having you back. We wish all best. And Daniel, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.